Hi everyone, Kristina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm making a very special card for a good friend of mine who happens to be in the crafting community. You may have heard of him. It's for Tim Holtz. Today, as I'm doing this voiceover for this video, is his birthday. By the time this video goes up, his birthday will have been the day previous. But I wanted to show you guys how I created this birthday card for him. I'm going to be seeing him at the Craft and Hobby Association trade show this weekend. So I actually get to bring the card with me and deliver it in person, which will be really special. So in honor of Tim, I thought I would create a card using some distress inks and sort of meld a little bit of his kind of grungy vintage style with my more clean and almost cutesy style. I'm sure you guys have come to know here on my YouTube channel. So I'm starting out with 4 different colors of distress ink, but I'm only going to use the first 3, like the lighter 3. I'm going to omit black soot for a minute here. I'm using antique linen, frayed burlap, and walnut stain. I've smushed those down onto my craft sheet, which is a very slick surface, and then sprayed that with some water. And then I've smushed some watercolor paper down on top. This is some Canson Montball watercolor paper. It just happens to be the one that was out on my desk. But you could use whatever watercolor cardstock or watercolor paper you'd like for this particular technique. This is one of my favorite techniques to do with distress ink, and it's one of the first techniques that I actually learned from Tim himself. I watched a lot of videos online, and then I saw him demonstrate it in person, and it's always been one of my most favorite techniques to do with his products. So I smushed my watercolor paper down onto the surface, dried that off, and then using all of those leftover droplets that are on my craft sheet, I just pounced that watercolor paper back into the ink. And it puts on these fun splotches and water droplet type shapes. So after I had all of that texture all added on here, I'm going to come back in and add some more water on top. If you're new to distress inks, you might not know this, but distress ink, even when dry, is reactive with water. So I'm sprinkling on some water and then picking that up with a paper towel, and it sort of wicks away at that color and bleaches it out. It's a really fun technique. So I'm doing a second piece of watercolor paper here, and this time I'm using the other 3 inks. So I'm taking out antique linen, and I'm using the 3 darkest inks: frayed burlap, walnut stain, and black soot. And I'm going to do the exact same steps that I did on the previous piece of watercolor paper. So you'll notice I've got kind of like the lighter color on one end of the watercolor paper, and then I went to black soot on the other end. And I sort of want to keep it that way. Once you see both of these watercolor pieces together, you'll understand more what I'm going for here. So I'm making sure I'm adding in lots of different splotches and just getting a lot of that texture. This is kind of what Tim is known for, all of this really vintage-y, almost like rust-like texture. It's really cool. He loves anything vintage and antique. He's really fun that way, and I wanted to make sure I incorporated some of that look into this card. I'm using my heat tool to help speed up the drying process. And like I did before, I'm just going to do a few little water droplets this time. And I wanted to let you guys know that distress sprayer that I'm using, if you lock it, you can have it unlocked and get a full spray, or you can lock it and just get like the tiniest bit of a spray. If you lock that distress sprayer, you get some really great water droplet shapes. So I've pretty much finished with both of these watercolor pieces. So I'm going to show you them end to end, and you can kind of see what I was going for. I really wanted it to sort of start with really light color, go to a medium tone, and then go to a darker shade at the other end. I'm going to be die cutting some hearts. These are some mini hearts. I think these are the mini movers and shapers hearts from Tim Holtz, from his Sizzix line. I'm using they're magnetic, so I'm using a metal tray, and I'm going to be cutting out these hearts out of this watercolor paper. Because these dies are steel ruled dies, meaning that they actually have like a thick piece of steel that cuts the shape, I can cut out both of these watercolor papers at the same time. It's really time saving, and it's a great way to use these dies. So I'm going to go ahead and run this through my die cutting machine, this set of 2 hearts, 3 times, but I'm cutting both pieces of paper at the same time. So in the end, I'm going to end up with 12 hearts, and they're all going to be kind of in varying shades. I'm now going to use the Birthday Balloons stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. This is one of the stamp sets that I designed for Simon. And I've arranged the hearts kind of in a light to dark arrangement that's roughly the size of the front of my card. And then I've taken one of the center hearts and I flipped it over so that I can use the back of the watercolor paper. I've stamped birthday wishes in Versamark ink, applied some Hero Arts of White embossing powder, and then heat set that until it was melted. The melted embossing powder is going to resist any of the color that's put on top. So I'm painting on some black soot. I want this particular heart to really stand out. It's the one heart that's going to have words on it. So I wanted to make sure that it would really stand out on top of everything on the front of the card. Using my heat tool to help heat set that, I added lots of water on top. I did kind of the same technique I did before, but on just this one little heart. And then I took a paper towel and kind of rubbed off any of that ink that was on the embossing powder. So now I've got the basic design of my card, and I'm making sure that it's the right dimensions, that none of those hearts are going to overlap the edges of the card. And I noticed that that top heart, the white one, was just a little tiny bit too big. So instead of trying to make things fit, and I really tried to make them fit, I decided to just take my scissors and trim down that heart just to be slightly smaller so that I could get everything to fit on the front of the card. Then to transfer everything over all at once, I'm taking some really wide painter's tape. I think this is the 2.5-inch painter's tape. And I just put it on my arm so it would pick up some of the oils from my skin and make it slightly less tacky. It's pretty low tack as it is, so I probably could have skipped that step, but I wanted there to be no chance of the tape tearing my watercolor paper. So then I lifted those up, and I'm going to put some foam adhesive on the back of all of the hearts, just little tiny squares of foam adhesive. And then I lifted that all up in one piece and transferred over to the front of my card. The card base I'm using today is cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 tall once folded down, and it is 110-pound Nina Solar White cardstock. So you can see how easy that tape peels off the watercolor pieces, and it made it super easy to adhere all of those after I had the design figured out. So I decided I wanted to add a gold embossed edge to this card, and I decided this after I already had the hearts adhered. I think if I was to make this card again, I would have done this kind of border technique before adhering the hearts, because then I wouldn't have had to deal with kind of working around the watercolor hearts, and I possibly would have made the border a little bit thicker. So I'm using some rich pale gold embossing powder from Wow, just applying that to the edges after swiping some Versamark ink on there. And then I use my heat tool to heat set it and melt the embossing powder. Doing the same thing to the Birthday Wishes hearts. Wanted to make sure that there was some gold accent on that as well. So I'm going to sprinkle on some more of that rich pale gold embossing powder. This is one of my favorite gold embossing powders. I like it because it's not too yellow. It has a little bit more of a brown tone to it. So I'll melt that with my heat tool once more, and then I can press it down onto the card front exactly where it was before. That foam piece was already there, so I just pressed it right down on top. That's going to finish the card for today. Happy birthday, Tim. I hope your birthday was fantastic, and I can't wait to give this card to you while I'm at CHA this weekend. To everyone else, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you guys on Monday for a brand new card video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.